So today we'll work on the upper body. So just let me know. You can unmute yourselves or write in the chat if there's anything in particular you'd like to work on, so that I can focus more time there. I was thinking about starting with the arms coming up through the forearms, then biceps, triceps, and then right into the shoulder blades. So let me know if there's any area that needs a little extra attention. Hi, welcome. Today we're going to be working on the upper extremities. I just asked if there was anything in particular that people were interested in working on. I got a wrist one. I was planning on starting at the forearms, then working up to the biceps and triceps, and then working right into the shoulder blade area. So let me know if there's anything in particular that you need. Okay. I'll give you guys a minute. If not, we'll begin with the forearms. So we're going to stretch first. We'll start right at the ends. We'll start with the hands and then work into the forearms, then keep working our way up. So for today, there's lots of different options of things that you can use. I have a lot of tools with me. I have my standard set of therapy balls. I have my alpha ball. I have my Coregeous ball, and then as well a foam roller. So for the forearms, wrists, and hands, we'll use a small set of balls since we'll be in a small place. Then as we move up, I'm going to move to the alpha ball. A small ball will also work for those areas, but I find that when I use the alpha ball, it just makes it nice and continuous because I go from the pec out to the bicep, and I go from the lat out to the tricep. If that's too tender, you can replace it with the Coregeous ball, or as well, the foam roller is really nice from the lat out to the tricep. So have a couple different tools nearby just to try what works best for you. And I'll give you different suggestions and demonstrations and options as we go. But let's begin with our hands. I'm going to start with my left hand, and I'm just going to start by circling the ball under my palm. And you can do this on a block. You could do this leaning over a coffee table. You could even do it sitting with your hand on the table. Do a little circle here. Starting small right at the base of the hand, getting through the carpal tunnel region as well as the palmar fascia. Welcome. We're just starting by rolling through the hands. Nice circles with the ball. And then now I'm going to make that circle bigger. If you want to get a little bit more pressure, you can go more upright on your knees. But like I said, you could stand and have the ball on a table as well. And then I'm going to strip out towards my thumb now so that I get a nice stretch outward of my thumb. Pause for a second. Just feel that stretch. Then I'm going to stretch out to my index finger so that I get a nice extension through the index finger. And as I work each finger individually, I'm going to get all those tendons. Then my middle finger. Then my ring finger. Then my pinky. Then work my way back, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, and then thumb. And now I'm going to do one more thing, particularly for the thumb. I'm going to place the ball right in the crease of the thumb and push down. And you may even clamp the thumb and index finger together, squeezing, and then release. Feel that space between the thumb and index finger spread more, and then do that again. One more time, squeeze, and then release. Good, just give one more little press and then remove it. And then let's work our way right up into that forearm. You can here keep the ball single, or you can put it inside the tote. I often like to put it in the tote, but today I'm feeling like just a single ball feels like the right option. So I'm gonna start on that same side, the palmar side, and I'm gonna start right at the wrist. And first I'm gonna scrub across the wrist, scrubbing across the carpal tunnel. And that's why I left the ball single, so that I could get a little better across the wrist. And it's almost like I create a little pendulum. I kind of like knead the ball into my wrist so that my wrist comes up. And then I'm going to work my way into my forearm, just stripping in line with the forearm. And then now, to get into the wrist in particular, this is where you can clamp your top hand over the bottom and get a little pin and stretch, or flexion and extension, or maybe even circle the wrist one way or the other, so that you start to free up the wrist movements by getting the glide and slide of the place where the ball and body meet. And then just explore your way up the forearm. If this is tender or a lot, again, if you're sitting on a table, you can do this with your foam roller too. It's less specific, but any ball, any tool, a rolling pin sitting at the kitchen table is a perfect option too. All of these things that we just did can be done with any home tool. So just rolling along there, pausing where you feel sensation, moving the wrist up and down. All of these long finger flexors come all the way up the forearm, right to the elbow. So make your way all the way up to the elbow. And then turn the forearm over, and let's go back to the wrist. Let's get the scrub along the back of the wrist. And then start to scrub along the back side, or the extensor surface of the forearm. And you might notice on the thumb side here, you feel a couple like bumps. And that you might be getting into then the thumb muscles right in this area here. So you might feel that, you might not. But we all have been using our thumbs a whole lot more on our cell phones probably during this time. And I love that that we brought up the wrists, actually, because a lot of times when the shoulder blades aren't doing the work and the bigger muscles in the mid-back area aren't doing the work, we'll start to feel the effect in our forearms and wrists. To overuse these little muscles instead of using big muscles for gross movements. So we'll see how they connect when we make our way onto our backs. And then make sure you do a little pin and stretch here as well when you find spots of sensation. Great. And then let's go over to the other side. Let's start with the palm. So starting right at the heel of the hand, making sure you get right where the carpal tunnel and plantar fascia meet. So just little circles in that area, like right around the base of the thumb, right where the hand and wrist meet. Really like you're kneading the ball. I even kind of a little bit. And then you can start to make bigger circles around the whole thumb, coming out towards the knuckles. Maybe circle the other direction. Feel how different it feels to change the direction of the circle. And then start to move outward towards the thumb, towards the index finger. Just roll the ball back so that you get one finger moving forward into extension. And then work your way back to the thumb. Pause on the thumb. Give it a good stretch away from the rest of the fingers. And then take the palm when you're ready over the ball like you're clawing or clamping the ball. But now you're going to press the ball between it so that you undo that clamping between the index finger and the thumb, pressing those apart. You may even then squeeze the ball, holding it for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release and sink in a little bit more. And then do that one more time. Clamp the index finger and thumb together. And then release. Pressing down. And then let go. No rush. Take all the time you need for each of those things. As we work the arms, make sure you're keeping the shoulders soft so they're not overworking. And now make your way right into that carpal tunnel area. So we're scrubbing across the carpal tunnel, just freeing up. Oops, sorry, I just lost video. Am I back? Yeah. So right across the carpal tunnel. Sorry about that. I didn't put on Do Not Disturb. And then start to make your way into the forearm. Up and down. Finding a spot of sensation. Just explore. To choose how much weight you put in, how quick you go, or how slow you go. So the slower you go, the deeper you'll go. The quicker you go, the superficial you'll be. You can add additional weight by placing your top arm, and you can flex and extend the wrist. This one feels a little crunchy to me. Twist the wrist one way, twist the wrist the other. Feel how the tissues glide under where the ball and body meet. So this work is, especially the pin and stretching of the wrist, is to free up the glide of the myofascial structures so those tendons can move well and pull well. And then go ahead, flip the palm. Try the other side. Start with the back of the wrist. Spending as much or as little time in each spot, just taking the next few minutes to explore the whole backside from the wrist up to the elbow, stopping where you feel sensation. So using your body as your guide. Noticing if you're efforting in the jaw or the shoulders, relaxing everything that doesn't need to be working. Really focusing your awareness on the sensation, the actual felt sense of where the body and ball meet. And this side might feel very different than the other. And again, vary the pace that you move at, vary the pressure, and just be curious. Again, I'm getting a little bit more sensation in that area right where the long thumb muscles come, about a third of the way up. So I'm just pausing in that space. I could even roll over in that space, change the direction of the roll, get a little supination of the wrist. Just noticing what you feel, how it feels. Listening to your body. All of you have done this enough now to be able to listen to that internal teacher. And then go ahead, when you're ready, go ahead and release. Now here's a fun little wrist stretch we'll do. Just fold the wrists, fold the hands in the way that feels natural, and start to make figure eights with the wrists. So draw an 8 with the wrist. And notice which way you're going. Working on coordination now. But here's the harder part. That might have been hard enough. Now, switch your grip. Now switch the direction of that figure 8 as well. It's going to feel weird enough just to switch the direction of the grip. And then if you switch the direction of the figure 8, we're really working the brain. It's going to feel really probably a little hard and clumsy. And then just change the direction of the 8 again. And slow it down, and you'll notice, wow, it takes quite a bit of thought. And maybe change it one more time. And then shake out those wrists. I want to do an actual forearm stretch here. And I'm going to give you 2 variations. I'm going to give you just like a regular stretch that you can do on your counter, on your kitchen table. You can do on the floor right now. And then I also want to show you like a fun yoga posture way of doing it, because I know I have a variety of people. And so I want to give you both options. So I'm first going to do it here, and you could do this on the table in front of you or on the floor. I want you to take the palms, make a little fist, bring the fist down towards the floor so the back of the palms rest on the floor. And you'll feel that those fingers want to uncurl. And this is great to stay here. If you want to make it a little bit more yogi and get the whole body involved, you can come down to the floor and you can actually place your feet on your hands and give the hands a little massage with the feet. Rock the body side to side. We call this Padahastasana. So take about another minute in whatever version you're in. And if you're in the Padahastasana, you might even do this. Take the fingers out. And now see if you can curl one finger at a time. Really working on that dexterity. This is a nice thing to try. And you'll notice it's hard. The other fingers want to pull in. Even if you're kneeling or on the table, you can try the same thing. It's a good test of the dexterity and how well those fingers work in separation from one another. And then shake out the hands when you're ready. Now we'll change directions. Take the fingers now, turn them towards you. And then now let's place the palms facing away from you, down towards the surface, the table, the floor. And this is a great place to stay. If the more you lean back, the more you'll feel. If you'd like to get in more of a full body asana, a great way to get through this to this area is to come to reverse tabletop, which is quite a hard pose. So to come to that, I'm going to do fingers pointing away still. And then I'm going to press my hips up. And then I'll really get a good stretch because it's going to go through that surface of the forearm as well as the biceps into the chest. So get that whole chain. And so this you might not be able to hold as long. You may even shift into your feet and then into your hands a little bit, getting a rocking, kind of that rocking motion to come into the edge and then out of the edge to make the stretch sustainable. And there's no right version. Choose the version that suits you the best. As I always say, this is you learning to be your own teacher, listening to the body, let your body be your guide. So listen to what feels right now, and it might change. One day you might feel energized to do that, another day you might not. But go ahead and shake out those wrists and hands. And I love doing that shake. That shake is really good. So our body really likes to shake to let things go. And it's also really good at training the fascia to get out of that stiffness. Yeah, so really shake the whole arms, feel the vibration. Maybe even change the flopping. If you go side to side, what is it? Down. Again, I'm making you play with different movements and directions today, which is fun. And then relax and just feel that flush of awareness and tingling and energy right out into the fingertips. Okay. Now we're going to move upward. So as we move upward, I'm going to first come to the lats and the triceps. So I want you to do a pre-test for this so that you can really feel how much the lats plays a part in that arm motion. You're going to lie on your back just for a minute with your knees bent, and all you're going to do is just bring the arms up overhead and notice where they land. Notice the difference between the left and right, and then settle them down and see if they can touch the floor. See what happens to the back. Press the back into the floor and notice what that does to the arms. And then come on down and let's turn onto your side. You choose the side. So just because I know everybody, most people probably have a foam roller or a Coregeous ball, I'm going to show with the foam roller. You can do the Coregeous ball right through the side like this. If that's not sensational enough, you can take it to the alpha ball and explore with a smaller ball, firmer ball, quite sensationally up the side seam of the body. But I'm going to come to my foam roller today, and I'm just exploring from the bottom of the rib cage up the side seam of my body, like the seam of a shirt, towards the armpit. And I'm going to use my legs as well as my top arm to propel me a little bit. And you can move as little as you'd like. So you can just pause and breathe here and lean over it, and the breath will do wonders to mobilize the rib cage. So you don't have to move at all. And if you lean over it, a gentle rocking does a nice job to kind of think about like pulling the seam. If you rock over it, it's like it moves the seam of the latissimus dorsi side to side. So you get to choose how vigorous or how restorative you want to make it. Moving up, get to the side of the shoulder blade. So here's just a gentle rocking. Head's really heavy. If I feel sensation, I can pause in stillness. And you all know a lot of times I really choose this restorative way that like less is more. When you move less, you can listen better. But if you're feeling more invigorated and like kind of that sense of shaking and awakening, you can get a little bit more of a movement along the side, pushing with your legs. And that rolling will be a little more vigorous. So choose what feels right and play with the different options. Just see how you respond. If as you start to roll, you start to tense, maybe that's not the right thing right now. Maybe come back to stillness. And then even if you roll, make sure you take a moment to pause into stillness. Taking a full exhale and surrendering the weight of the body, letting gravity do the work. We spend our lives trying to hold ourselves up against gravity. So surrendering into it is such a gift to be able to let go of the efforting and feel gravity help us to just release and let go and restore our bodies. And then if you've gotten up into the armpit, pause there for a moment. And then move above the joint. So now move into the triceps. So for the triceps, I have my palm turned upward. I can rest my head right on my arm, and that gives me a little more compression. And I can roll with my foam roller. I'm not going to get the full length of the triceps at one time, so find a little spot. If you're feeling your Coregeous ball or foam roller is not quite cutting it as you get to a smaller area, try your therapy ball. And then you may find a spot in that triceps where you find stillness and see what happens if you do a little wave, if you bend and straighten your elbow and pin and stretch under that tricep. Finding a couple different spots, moving as much or as little as you like. Take about another minute here. It's important to spend at least 1.5 to 2 minutes in each tissue, in each line. It's about how long it takes for the body to start to unwind. And then release. Just roll back to your back for a second. First, notice how your arms rest by your side. You'll probably feel a difference just there. And then let the arms come up overhead. Make sure there's nothing in the way. And then really notice the difference now between side to side. Feeling how much getting the side seam of the body, like that shirt seam of the body, how that really just unrolls the shoulder, allowing it to move upward and outward. And as you're ready, come to the other side. So start right at the bottom of the rib cage. You can use whatever tool feels right for you. I'm going to go for the larger foam roller. And you can decide. First, maybe you just land over the rib cage, getting a little rocking and rolling. The rib cage, the rib cage is really tender, especially on the side. It's not an area we spend a lot of time with. That's why using the Coregeous ball, the soft ball, is really nice. It doesn't need to be painful to be effective. And that's why just finding stillness and hanging over it's really good. So you choose, stay in stillness or do a little roll, a little scooting with the legs up and down, exploring that territory. Being as vigorous or restorative as you need right now in this moment. And when you find a spot of sensation, make sure you do pause. Make sure you notice how it feels. Make sure you ask the body what it needs and what it wants. Always letting your body sensations guide you. Coming back into the sensation over the body and the prop meat. Again, if you're really feeling adventurous and explorative, you can also use your alpha ball. Some days I am, today not so much. When I cover a lot of territory, I like to use a bigger tool. And make sure you pause when you're right in that crease of where the shoulder and shoulder blade meet. You should be right on the back side of the joint, kind of towards the back of the rotator cuff, the lats, the teres, all of that musculature that like you can grab with your hand under the back of the armpits. Take a few real deep breaths there. Surrendering into it. Just letting go into gravity, letting go of the effort for a minute, letting the head really hang too before you transition towards the triceps. And you can start coming into the triceps just with the foam roller, palm facing up. Or if you feel like you need a little bit more direct pressure to feel the different parts of the tricep, come to your alpha ball or your regular therapy ball. When you change, moving in slowly, because you'll notice how different the sensation is with the more direct tool. Are you leaning into it, or have you found that you start to brace? And if you find yourself bracing or guarding, find stillness and pause, and then you can bend and straighten the elbow. Taking a few deep breaths, especially if you notice yourself efforting, come back and observe, are you breathing? Are you feeling that sensation where the body and ball meet? With curiosity, being able to lean into it and listen to it? Or are you efforting in your body and your mind, trying to control? So just observe and then release. Come all the way onto your belly now. Now I'm going to stay with my alpha ball. Again, here you could use your Coregeous ball, or you could even use your foam roller. And we're going to come into the pec. So the foam roller is a great tool too. It's a little bigger and bulkier, but it works. But I like this little ball, this alpha ball. But if you tend to be really tender, the bigger one might be better. And I'm going to start with the ball in my right pectoral. So I'm underneath my collarbone to the outside of my chest bone, stripping side to side. I kind of have my arms sort of like a rudder. They're almost like kind of swaying me side to side of the chest. Here's where breathing often works better than motion. So when you land in here, I like to find stillness and just take a couple breaths, using the breath as the movements for release. Breathing in right where the body and the ball meet. Really sighing it out. This area gets tight when we have sympathetic, shortened breath. If you have asthma, anxiety, any respiratory issues. We tend to have short breaths into the upper chest. So this really helps us get out of that reactive or sympathetic or stimulated style of breathing. Taking about 3 more breaths here, finding different points along the pec. Right here, if you look at this from an acupuncture perspective, these tender points are our lung meridians, which are a treatment for anxiety. And now let's move out of the pec into the biceps. So now I'm going to turn my palm towards the sky. So I kind of turn the shoulder in a little bit. I go boop. Now that will help me get into the bicep tissue. So I'm moving down now into the humerus or the upper arm. And I'm going to feel as I turn my palm up versus turn my palm down, I'll feel like right into that seam of the biceps. And I like to break these long bones into a couple parts. So I'm going to start in the upper half, using my opposite arm. So right now, my left arm to drive me across. And if this is too tender, switch to your foam roller or your Coregeous ball if you want a little bit more. You switch to a smaller or harder ball. But harder isn't better, or more sensation isn't necessarily better. And maybe if you find a spot of sensation, maybe turn the palm down, and then you can actually bend and straighten the arm. And I like to make it look like this. I kind of turn the palm down, and then as I straighten, turn the palm back up. Turn the palm down to bend, turn the palm back up. And then I can find another spot, getting that bend and straighten. And you don't have to do the wrist action, but I find the wrist action helps give just like a little bit more roll over that musculature, kind of like a cross friction massage. And if you decide that you like that roll, you could just turn the palm up, turn the palm down, going across the biceps muscle. Kind of like strumming a guitar string. So make your way down the biceps, stripping in line by going side to side. We're turning the wrist to go across. We're bending and straightening the elbow to create a little fulcrum or pulley, increasing the glide, like you're flossing that biceps muscle. And now, take about 3 more breaths here. And then we're going to go right into a stretch because we're already kind of set up for it. And I promise we do some stretching today. So here we go. Take that ball out. Palm facing down now. Place the entire right arm on the floor. Press the fingers into the floor, the forearm into the floor, the biceps into the floor. Now your left hand becomes a kickstand. My left hand is pressing into the floor with my elbow bent, and I'm going to push off my left hand and roll to my right. So I'm literally lying on my right side. So the right arm is behind me like a capital T. And now this top leg can come to the ground to give you a little support. And you can use your left hand and left foot to help rotate you back even a little bit more onto the arm. And you're in control of how much you rotate back. If you'd like, you can take the top arm behind the back too, reach it around the low back towards the floor, right side. But it can also stay in front if you need to unweight yourself a little bit, or you need a little bit more external support. Wherever you are, wherever the body meets or bumps up against its first edge or barrier, just stay there. Taking a few breaths. No need to effort, no need to strive or go further than the body wants. Just be where you are, allowing the body to open slowly. Time and gravity, breath doing all the work. Take 5 deep breaths. Maybe even sighing it out. A nice ha is really beautiful here because it resonates in the chest area that we're opening, that ha sound. So that's where a sigh is nice. Just pausing and listening and being with the sensations of your body. No need to do or change anything. If you find yourself starting to effort or struggle, back off a little bit, coming to a sustainable edge. For 2 more breaths. Waiting for a big sigh and then just unrolling to your belly. Arms come by your sides, head turns the other direction. Let the arms fall to the floor. Let your breath return to normal. Let the body find stillness. And then, no need to rush. When the body feels ready, completely reset, begin again. Taking the ball now, for me, it's the left side of the chest, underneath the collarbone, outside of the outside of the chest bone on the left side, staying on one side of the chest. Using whatever tool feels right, big, small, soft, hard, just meeting yourself right where you are. You don't have to do or change anything, especially here. As you roll across the chest and find these spots of tenderness and sensation, the absolute best thing you can do is take a few breaths into it. The breath is the best way to mobilize the rib cage. Moving as little or as much as you'd like. Feeling the breath fill the lungs. Lungs move that space. Any guarding, any reaction, any holding of the breath. And then as you're ready, making your way out towards the biceps, I like to turn my palm up here. And when I turn the palm up, as I start to upper arm, I break that arm bone into 2 parts, getting the top of the arm bone, the top of the humerus. And with that palm turned up, I really feel like I can get between the 2 heads of the biceps. It's like that seam sticks out at me. And I might want to rotate the palm so that I go across the head of the bicep, like I'm strumming the guitar string. Or I might like a pin and stretch type action of bending the elbow and straightening it. I can even put together that bend, straighten, and twist. Pronating and then bending and supinating, straightening and pronating. Or just stripping. Using your body as your guide, listening to every sensation that arises. Sensations directing you where to go, what to do. Letting the body be your guide. Taking about 3 more breaths here. Coming to your last breath. And then allowing yourself to remove the ball. Press the palm side of the arm down like a capital T. Right arm now becomes the kickstand, so opposite arm becomes a kickstand, pressing down with your hands, elbow up, so that you push off of it, so that it holds you up. Roll onto the left side, arm straight behind you. So once you get to your side, the top arm can kickstand. Supporting arm can stay in front to begin. As you meet the sensation. And then as it softens and you start to deepen into that really deep biceps, pec, whole arm stretch, you can bring the arm behind. Observing the breath. Observing how you're entering in and bumping up against this boundary. Are you trying to push and force? Or can you just meet it gently, like get a little rock into that sensation and rock off? Come right up to that point where it's sustainable but sensational. So not where it's too much that it continues to build to be unbearable, but meeting it so that it's sustainable. And then by being sustainable, you'll feel it soften. And then you feel it soften a little bit more. And that's where the other hand can help you determine where to land. Take 3 more breaths. Nice big sighs, nice big huhs. Letting that resonance and vibration just clear out the chest. And then roll all the way to your belly. Let the head turn the other direction. Arms come by your sides. And now press up to your hands and knees. We have one more stretch. This stretch, we're gonna do like, it's gonna be a puppy pose. So hips stay high, it's kind of like a child's pose. Then you're gonna walk the arms forward so the chest drops towards the floor. only because I have it. I'm going to show you how you can also do this with your foam roller. If you put your elbows on the foam roller, you can bring the hands together and then let the elbows to the foam and chest drops. You can here even get a little tricep stretch by bringing your hands behind the back. This gives you a little bit more, but more isn't better. So you could choose this, or hands could go on blocks. Elbows could go on blocks here, or coming to the floor is just fine too. Taking the arms out overhead, hips high, chest low. Breathe into the side ribs, those lats that we mobilized. Feeling the ribs expand like accordions. Take a few final resting breaths, feeling the openness in the chest, in the shoulders, and in the arms. Feeling the change in breath. Letting the body be completely heavy. Now letting go of movements, letting go of efforting, just surrendering to be with yourself as you are right now. And then as you're ready, press into your hands, take your time and walk yourself up to sitting right on your knees. And take your hands, bring them to touch, maybe even shake them against each other a little bit, feeling the energy in the hands and the heat and the contact of the hands, feeling the energetics that we hold in the hands, and then just letting that resonate, bringing the hands apart, out in front of the heart, feeling the magnetism, that sense of feeling alive and awake. And then bring the hands together to prayer. Just give yourself a gentle bow. Pause and finish in a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for your arms to embrace others, for your hands to do your work in the world. Grateful for our health and our function and our ability to use our bodies to do good work. Thank you for joining me.